Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Survivor 48 for Survivor Global. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to finish off the pre-merge for episode 5, talk about another crazy vote, another plurality vote, the first 2-1-1 in US Survivor history. We've had many in international Survivor. This is the first time it's ever happened in the US. It can't happen in the post-merge because we have fire. So we got it done here in this season that refuses to just form a majority and vote people out. And there's good parts of that, and there's complicated parts of that, and I'm here to talk about it with someone who I love chatting Survivor with. He's a new fan, but he also won the show in the UK, so that gives him like super fan cred for life. It is a great Matthew Haywood.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait for this. I love chatting, and yeah, I'm Survivor obsessed at the minute. I'm watching Australia, watching US, and yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's very, very different in the US compared to Australia. And like every week I come into like I'm gonna do the US podcast. Like I'll watch the episode, it'll be chill. This is like my fourth podcast today. And and it's always headache inducing. Every week I'm like, I'm knee deep in Prisoner's Dilemmas. I do enjoy, as I've said before, finding Prisoner's Dilemmas out in the wild, which the season keeps on giving me, but the rules I kind of were better this week. But there's a lot, Matthew, every week. And this week we're going to delve into it to extremes.
Absolutely. Well, when you were probably podcasting a few hours ago, I was up at like 4 a.m. UK time. I was watching the episodes, and I think I needed to take a breather. It's quite exhausting watching this US Survivor. I think it's so fast paced compared to like the UK season I was on and like the Australian Survivor. But I'm loving it. I think it brings a lot to talk about.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you were just watching the episodes today at 4 a.m. instead of skydiving. So at least it's a more chill day. Are you going skydiving after this podcast by chance?
Not today. It's my cousin's 18th. So tonight it's going to be like cousin's party, chill. So nothing too extreme today like last time.
Yeah. I'm disappointed, but we did get messages that people were happy you survived skydiving to make it through to this next podcast. So people are happy that you made it.
As long as I keep surviving to the next podcast, that's kind of my life goal.
Yeah. That's the true survivor, that you get to the next podcast with all the extreme sports and adventures that you have.
Absolutely. No, I think that's kind of what my mum and dad have to look out for every day. Just, is Matthew still alive today? Is he survived today?
Well, I feel bad for them if that's the case. But Matthew, so it's a lot. Are you enjoying the season? What are your thoughts on, because this is your second US Survivor season, and it's so much. Like we've had comments like, imagine if this was, like 2 weeks ago. Imagine if this was your third episode of Survivor ever. And while you were on the show and won it, for US Survivor, that's not super far from the truth. And it really like throws you in the deep end. So is it something that you're enjoying keeping pace with, or are you like, is there an accessibility level of just insanity of like the finicky rules and stuff for someone who comes in, 1 or 2 seasons in and like, this is insane and too much?
Yeah, I'm so open with it though. So I'll watch an episode and I'll be like, so what is that? And then I'll look through forums and stuff, and then I'll read the things. I'll be like, oh, I like that. Yeah, I get these. So I'm kind of just learning with it as well. Although I have one Survivor, this is just a US Survivor, UK Survivor. It's so different. So no, I'm enjoying. I'm kind of like watching and learning at the same time. And there's stuff that's similar, stuff that's different. So I'm just kind of learning as I go. But I'm enjoying it, and I think I'm always happy to be like to learn as I go. I never have to be an expert in anything. I like to just see how it goes.
Well, I love how much you are like, investing and like reading about everything. I mean, this season is crazy. As calling it the season, at least the pre-merge of plurality votes to just recap where we were through this pre-merge. The first vote, that was fine. They voted out Steph. That was an actual majority. Mm-hmm. The second vote where Kevin went was a 3-1 in a 5-person vote. It was meant to be 2 concurrent 2-1-1s. That was meant to be the first 2-1-1s. We're kind of like final destination, the first 2-1-1 in US Survivor history. Say didn't realize that she was piling onto a Kevin vote. She thought it was a different 2-1-1 where maybe she was going to be the target of a 2-1-1, depending where Justin went. Maybe Mary would go 2-1-1. Then Justin and Cedric thought they were 2-1-1 and Kevin out of the game, but she piled on, made it 3-1. But still, 3 people of the 5 were blindsided. Like Say was blindsided by that. Kevin was clearly blindsided. Mary didn't know what was happening. So again, a majority did not technically rule the day. It was the 2 people. Then obviously at the vote where Justin goes, Cedric's unanimously deciding with Say, not a majority. Then last week we had the 2 winning with their advantages over 3, not a majority. And this week we don't know if Mitch was included. If Mitch was included, that's actually a majority to be 3 out of these 5 people, or it literally was 2 of 5, and we don't know if Mitch was just splitting, and we can talk about it. But that is crazy. It's been said Cedric has voted for 6 people in 5 episodes. It is a lot going on. Yeah, is it good? In many ways. I mean, I like getting into the Prisoner's Dilemmas that we'll get into. I like getting into votes that are so small that there's so much meaning behind each of them, where like everyone can be their own swing vote and we can talk about it from so many different ways. I feel upset comes at the expense of like the Justins and the Biancas who go on the same journey are forced to lose the same vote. Camilla, ironically, who got the vote, would have been okay even without her vote with Carl's Idol. But yeah, I mean, it's at their expense. Sometimes it's getting like way too finicky, as we've said. Variety can be nice, scope can be nice. But yeah, we definitely, I think, find the fun in it. We find the conversation, but it is definitely very, very extreme. Yeah, would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I just think though, what I don't get about the US Survivor is why do they always take votes away? Why are we always losing
Wonderful
votes?
question.
That's what I don't
Wonderful.
like. I don't like that because it just brings so many different problems and it does ruin people's games, which is a bit, I don't know, like it stops people from maybe, everyone wants to go on Survivor to play, but then it doesn't incentivize.
Yeah.
It doesn't incentivize you to play. It doesn't make you want to play. Like I seen Bianca's exit interview, like a little clip of it on Twitter with Mike, and yeah, just like she was saying, she wanted to go on the journey because it's going on a journey, but she also didn't want it. But then it's just, I don't know, it doesn't help the players.
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely. I mean, like Bianca, again, like her tribe chose her to go on the journey, which was at least more agency than Justin had in losing his vote. But again, her tribe choose her to go on the journey because they trust her. Like that should be a positive thing. But instead, she loses out for it and she loses all of her agency here. Like they didn't want to get rid of her. At any point, they could have gotten rid of her. Even just Cedric and Chrissy, who end up being on the 2-on-1 to get rid of her, if they're committed to taking out Bianca, we could talk about it. They could 2-2-1 her out of the game either way. Like whether she votes for Say with Mitch, they could 2-1-1 her because at that point it would be Say, it would be 2 votes Say, 2 vote Bianca, and then if they vote out Bianca over Say, then that's the choice that even Chrissy would be making at that point. If she wanted Bianca out the most, if she's voting for Chrissy with Say, then Cedric at that point and Mitch would vote out Bianca over Chrissy. So if they ever wanted her out, they would take her out. It's because she goes from being a swing vote, actually pits 2 sides against each other where they're both relying on her, to not having the power to do that, and she loses her vote. And I feel bad for her that that's what it comes to, because that's not necessarily fun. And I think that a lot of the times, I love 2-on-1s. I like the number one 2-on-1 stand, and this is fun in a different way. We'll talk through the Prisoner's Dilemma, but usually it's fun because what happens is in a 4-person vote, it's like everyone is voting. There's 3 votes on 1, and then someone screwed themselves. Like someone could have taken it to a 2-2 and didn't. Someone split their vote stupidly on a 2-1-1, and that's why they go home. That's usually the fun of it, that your vote could have so much meaning to take you to a tie, but you stupidly get blindsided, split your vote, take it in the wrong direction, and then 2 people come over the top and vote you out. That's usually the fun. That's clearly not why Bianca goes. Like this is a different situation where she goes because her vote is lost, her agency is lost. She can't be relied on as a vote that people want and need, and then becomes collateral damage when people feel they have no other option, even though there were other options we can talk about, but people feel limited without her number, and then she becomes expendable to them.
Yeah, and I think, what are the chances that Cedric has been to all these tribal councils so far, and someone's told him about losing the vote and that they don't have a vote, and he's voted them out, and someone's not told him that they've lost the vote, and he's still voted them out. So he's been in this kind of the same dilemma twice, and I think it's quite mad. I think Cedric's a very interesting character, and I think he's been like in the thick of it. And there's a lot to talk about Cedric and his dynamics with him.
Let's talk about Cedric, because I'm going to praise Cedric a little bit more than I think the internet has. I don't think this was amazing. We can talk through all of his many decisions, because really at different points he has a decision to send home Say and Chrissy possibly, and Bianca. Like he really has a choice over 3 people in the tribe. And I just really want to credit the power that Cedric has had. Like Say has been to 4 tribal councils and has been blindsided at like this one, at the Kevin blindside, and even half like at the Justin blindside. Like she's been blindsided at 2.5 or 4 tribal councils. And even then I'm like, it's been a lot, like good for you. And Cedric has had power and knowledge and control at all 4. So at a point, you have to credit Cedric for the fact that Bianca does come to him over anyone, but the fact that Justin did want to work with him, Say wanted to work with him more than anyone, that he's been in all these groups. That's the first thing I'm going to do to praise Cedric, because I think a lot of people questions his decisions. What did you think about the move he was making here? He prioritizes Say and then goes to take out Bianca, which really like saves Say of anyone. Like, what did you think about the moves he was making here?
I think it's really interesting from Cedric's point of view. So he's like been through this game from the start right up till now with Say, and I think Say's seen every move that Cedric's made, and I think it probably doesn't do Say. He probably doesn't give Say an advantage if Say goes pre-merge. But then maybe she's in the jury, she's seen the moves.
Interesting.
She'll be there, and she can back up like all the moves he's made so far. But she's probably a good shield as well to Cedric. I think, like, she not blew up her game, but she was very vocal at the reward challenge about the croissants. I know she doesn't rub up well with Mary, but she was very vocal, and people have heard, and Cedric will have seen that, and he'll have seen that people are a bit frustrated with how she was speaking, and maybe he sees her as a shield, and yeah, and he's also saved her before as well. So, like,
saved her from himself though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, he had to do it, but I don't know. I think it's an interesting dynamic between the two because I think he can use her, but he could also cut her, and she's seen all the moves he's made, and I think she'd be good in the jury for Cedric's case.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, she still probably has a little while to go before she gets to a jury. And honestly, TBD if she makes it, considering how many people she's offended. Bianca said in her exits that Lagi all wouldn't work with Say. They've never even met her. Obviously, Chrissy doesn't like her. That might be Fever not liking her. She has had her own issues on Vula as well. So she might not make it there. She might be a good Murgatory boot, which we can talk through as we look through to next week. But I do think that the shield capacity is interesting. I think from a jury perspective, it is one to look at if she's not too mad. And then I wonder about coming back to this tribe. Now, that is a big if. You would assume you're going to merge next time. Again, the last time 6 people were voted out of the new era, which would be next week, in the pre-merge, was in 41. A long, long time ago. There's also, to be fair, like other injuries, but like that have happened. So they haven't had an injury. They might think it could be extended. They don't usually swap. So that's a bit different. Although, again, in 45, when they did swap, they would merge next week. But assuming you're going to not merge next week, that's a big if, maybe. And if you're being cautious on not merging next week, I do think they're the weakest tribe. And I do think getting rid of Say is not a great spot for Cedric. Like, if Say goes there, then Chrissy and Mitch have all the control. And we see Mitch has been close to Bianca. Cedric's been close to Mitch. But I feel like Cedric maybe could go there. Whereas if you get rid of Bianca, then you come back to a 2-2 where you could cut Say. And even more, if you get rid of Chrissy, which we'll talk about, then you come back to your 2-1 with Say, you and Say in control, and Mitch and Bianca, where you have all the control. So I think coming back to the group, assuming you might, and you don't want to rely on Murgatory, despite the precedent being quite high, and it ends up happening. But like, I think that is a possibility to keeping Say for me, which makes, keeping Say a fine decision for me, personally. Yeah,
I agree. And I think definitely the shield, I get what you mean. We might be quite far off a jury at the moment, but yeah, keeping her as a shield, good idea. With the fact that Lagi don't even, will never work with her, they've never met her. That's quite a mad concept. And yeah, I think he's got a lot of control, Cedric, now coming back. But I like the idea of him maybe getting rid of Chrissy and then him and Cedric and Say having that 2-1-1. I like that.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about whether he could have done that, because I do wonder about Say. I think the question anyone would ask is she a shield or an anchor? Like, you want to and this was like true of like Rome last season with Genevieve. It's like, is he going to be a shield, which Genevieve recovered from very well, but she was she did that very well, or is it going to be like, I don't even want to be associated with Say? That might be the issue. But I think coming back to the 2-1-1 with Say, or even again having her as fodder to cut next time if you go to tribal, is the option. So then it becomes, should he have cut Chrissy? Like, let's talk through this 2-1-1 and how. In its pure form, it's a prisoner's dilemma, and then there are intricacies that make it a different prisoner's dilemma for both Chrissy and Cedric, because Chrissy and Cedric are both in this position where, again, if they switch their vote, at the point where they're going to the other person and saying we should vote for Bianca and trying to split the other pair's vote, their two could technically try and come over the top and win on a different 2-1-1, right? Like, if Cedric votes for Say, Chrissy will go. If Cedric votes for Chrissy with Say, Chrissy will go home 2-1-1. So that's a threat that Chrissy made herself vulnerable to. And if now that Cedric has voted for Bianca, if Chrissy votes with Mitch for Say will go home 2-1-1 because they've split their 2 votes. So that becomes a prisoner's dilemma of what they could do. So can I talk you through this prisoner's dilemma of the just on its pure prisoner's dilemma, it like at its broadest, this is a pure prisoner's dilemma, because like take it from Cedric's point of view and then you can just flip it. If he betrays and she collaborates and he votes out Chrissy, that's like, say that's first prize and he wins on that 2-1-1. If they both collaborate, that's second. Then what we saw happens, and that's that they vote Bianca out on that 2-1-1. If they both betray each other, it goes to a 2-2. Now, if you imagine that 2-2 is just threatening, but like it's like more threatening than just Bianca going home, but like less threatening than just outright losing the day for either of them, then that's like the betray, where like Chrissy doesn't necessarily want to be like in a 2-2 where she could be voted for technically, even though she wouldn't have to pick a rock. Cedric might have to pick a rock. So just looking at like the threat of that 2-2 broadly, but there are intricacies that will make this different. And then if he votes for Bianca and splits his vote and then they vote for Say, then Say will go home 2-1-1 and he loses. And you can flip that. So that's like the pure prisoner's dilemma, and then there are intricacies. Is that making sense? Just on
it's making sense. I feel like I'm getting a masterclass in US Survivor. I'm loving it. I'm like, I'm here for it.
I love that. And also, yeah, I think I worked out whether they made the right move or the wrong move through pure game theory and math. So I think it did work out. But okay, so it's different though for Cedric and Chrissy, and here is why. There's a few different reasons. For Cedric, firstly, he's not a target. So the stakes actually are a lot lower for Cedric. That's the first thing that makes it different. The second thing is that if it goes to a 2-2, it does feel like Say would go home. So again, like that actually makes, again, the stakes lower again.
Yeah.
Like, so basically what it is for him is if he betrays, then Chrissy might go home if he's betrayed back, or if they collaborate, Chrissy would go home. If they betray back, it feels like Say would go home. So it's like Chrissy option if he betrays, or a Say option. If he collaborates, then Bianca will go home if they collaborate back, or if they betray, Say will go home. So the stakes are lower where it's like Chrissy or Say, depending on what he does, if that's the betray option, or Bianca or Say. So it's like either way, if they betray, Say will probably go home. So he can take the shot. So the stakes are lower for him because he can't go home. And again, they can kind of get their way if they vote for Say, which we can talk about. But for him, that makes the stakes lower. And another thing that I think makes the stakes lower is between Chrissy and Bianca as targets, there are probably pros and cons either way. Like again, if Chrissy goes home, he comes back to the 2-1-1, that's good. He can work with Bianca, that's good. But if Bianca goes, it feels like he has connections to the Siva tribe, which is pretty good. And again, if they go to tribal council, Say would be next and not him. So the stakes are kind of lower, where this is kind of fine for me either way. I probably lean to betraying Chrissy. That's what the math would say. But the stakes are lower enough where I feel like either target was okay. Like, how do you feel about it for him if he could, in taking out Bianca as a target for him or Chrissy as a target for him?
I think what he's done is, and what you've said is, he's chose the lower risk option. But I think either way, I think Cedric's kind of in a good position. But he's just chose the easiest option, like the lowest risk option, and it worked. And the fact that Bianca come up to Cedric and told him that she doesn't have a vote. It's kind of, it puts a lot of power in Cedric's hands as well. And I think he's in the driver's seat, and he made the right decision for himself, but he could have made other decisions that worked for him. It was all in Cedric's hands, really.
Yeah, it definitely was. And like the more I think about it, the more I think maybe Chrissy staying is the better option for him than Bianca, because even though it doesn't come back to the 2-1-1, that connection through to Siva, who have not lost a member yet and are maybe going to be quite powerful, might be where he wants to go. And we don't necessarily know. Yeah. I mean, he works with Chrissy here to make this move. I don't know how social collaborative that was between them. It was literally collaboration in the prisoner's dilemma. But I don't know if it's how much like we both don't want to go to a 2-2, right? So let's instead come over the top and do this thing. Like, I don't know if it was more like using leverage or if it was more social. It probably was social. So if he can work with Chrissy and Siva, like that's probably quite good for him. And again, whatever he does, if they choose to vote for Say will probably go. So the stakes of like him losing is very low stakes because they actually have the power in that world, and him winning is like a more even choice between Chrissy and Bianca for me. So the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, okay, on this lower stakes decision for Cedric, and then again, I'm higher on keeping Say around, as we said, jury potential possibly as a shield. As in the 2-1-1 potential, I really think he needs to keep Say around for a possible another round of the pre-merge. Once he's decided that, I think he can go either way. So I'm okay with the way that he went in taking out Bianca.
Yeah, he's definitely got options going forward now. And I think, yeah, with the OG Siva tribe, if he wants to go in there with them guys, he can. And I think, I don't know how much he knows, but like Bianca obviously she lost a vote and then she lost her closest ally in Thomas. So it's kind of like,
there are options
probably the right
way.
to cut her, yeah. So yeah. I think cutting Bianca, there's not really anyone you could go with. I think she lost Thomas, but then there's more options with the Siva tribe, the OG.
Yeah. So again, I actually think that ends up being fine because of the kind of intricacies in the prisoner's dilemma compared to Chrissy. Now, Chrissy's prisoner's dilemma, which kind of shifts whether it's actually a prisoner's dilemma for both of them, but Chrissy's dilemma is interesting because firstly, her stakes are much, much higher for a couple of different reasons. She's the target. She left herself vulnerable to going home. Now, maybe she's reading Cedric correctly, that they're happy to just like cut Bianca now, and it's just like the easier thing to do where they think they're going to come back to emerge, or he knows he's going to be in with Siva. Maybe she's reading that he's correctly, like that he's choosing Siva for all the reasons that we've given, but she did technically open herself up to being betrayed here and being sent home if that's what he chose to do. And we also see some merit in keeping Bianca and sending her out. So she opened her own self to going home, not just like an ally possibly like Cedric did. And again, like Cedric is going to have either way. The reason that Cedric is going to possibly lose Say either way is that if she chooses to vote for Say here, Say almost definitely goes. Because the 2-2 tie, Say probably goes when Cedric probably has to swap rather than go to rocks to vote for Say. It means that, again, yeah, if she chooses Say here, it doesn't matter what Cedric does. It's either a 2-2 if he betrays back and Say goes, or they 2-1-1, Say out of the game. So she had a lot of power to take out Say, and Say is a way better target for her than Bianca. Like, they were working with Bianca. They said they really like Bianca. She doesn't like Say at all. So I think in the fact that she opened herself up to extreme risk of going and opened herself up to risk for a worse target for her, that's why I think that this was very much a bad decision for her. I mean, she technically goes to the 2-2. She can try to trust Cedric to take out Say next time, but she does it. She could come back to a 2-1-1 with people she actually wants to work with and not Say. And for not doing that, she opened herself up to possibly getting 2-1-1 out of the game. So I think that math has shown that this was not the right thing for Chrissy. She should have stuck strong on the Say vote and either taken it to a 2-2 or just 2-1-1, Say out of the game a different way.
Yeah, I agree. I think she had. Yeah, do you think she's made the wrong decision there then? So she's made the wrong decision for not going to Say.
I mean, she opened herself up. Imagine if Cedric went to her and was like, we should vote for Bianca. And she was like, okay. And then she did. And then he was like, actually, we can vote out Chrissy. I have all the sway here. And then votes out Chris. And she goes home on that. Like, that would be the super 2-1-1 that we talk about in other times where your vote, splitting your one vote is what sent you home.
But we've ended up with kind of like the boring 2-1-1.
Well, there's no boring 2-1-1 really. But like, I mean, it was kind of boring in Australian Survivor 2018 because Shawnee couldn't win fire. There's a whole different story. But no, I mean, I think that would have been really interesting for him. That would have been Cedric tricking her into splitting her vote and then coming over that would have been actually more interesting. The collaborative 2-1-1 is the boring 2-1-1. Him betraying her there would have been fascinating. All of the fun. Yes. But yeah, I think she really opened herself up to risk here. She was clearly reading it correctly, so credit to her. But she opened herself up to risk, and she got at a much worse target. She wants to work with Bianca and Say, although Bianca wasn't going to go with them, but she seemed open to all connections. Like, I feel like that could play out in the future, whereas like she and Say are openly feuding at a point, you know?
Yeah, and I think it gives Cedric and Say a bit of power going forward. And yeah, Chrissy hasn't really helped herself in that situation. Yeah, but yeah, it's exciting. Yeah. I think the dynamics are just so like. Because with the three tribes, what I find is because the numbers are so small, every vote is just so important. The differences are so small, and I find that really fascinating. And I think because like I'm used to watching the survivors with the bigger tribes, these little tribes, and then half of them don't have votes, and then one of them's got an idol. Like it's mad dynamics. Yeah,
well, 100%. Like I really do feel really bad for Bianca, who had both sides playing against each other here. Which is the crazy thing is that they were going to, I mean, maybe Mitch and Chrissy thought they had Cedric as well, but like really she went from being the swing vote to the target just through a total lack of agency because she didn't have a vote. And that makes even a prisoner's dilemma very hard to swallow here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a prisoner who's got nothing, like no hands to fight with, you know what I mean? Hands tied behind the back.
Yeah.
She's never getting out of that one.
It was really, really painful. Where do you stand on Say and Chrissy's feud? I mean, Say is feuding with everyone. Like, Say, again, Laggy, I've never met her and have decided not to work. She's feuding with, well, how did you think of firstly feuding with Mary on the mat and then coming back to the whole like fruitgate of it all? Like, where do you see what Say is doing socially? Because you were someone who, like, one of my favorite things from your deep dive is you were like,
yeah.
I just would never kind of put anyone off. Like, I'd eat less if I needed to. I would sleep, in the worst place if I needed to. Like, I would just do that. And I was like, it's crazy that you've worked this out and people so much older than you haven't. Say is like the anti-Matthew in that way, where she's like, I want my kiwi. So like, as a social expert, like, how do you see what Say is doing socially in some of these interactions with even people on other tribes?
Social expert. I like the sound of it. Well, I've got all my notes here.
I love it. You come in with the social game, I'll come in with the math, and then between the two of us will be unstoppable. Be brilliant.
That's what we need. Social, math together.
Yeah, that's my
perfect.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, when I listen to Say have like a little go at Mary on the mat, that's what made me think it's something I would never do, because it's like you have to think to yourself: is what I'm about to say now worth? Is it worth doing this so publicly? It's like anything you do publicly, you're open to scrutiny for everyone on all the tribes. Why would you do that? Like in my season of Survivor UK, Lee was very open, very competitive, very always like saying stuff to the other tribes. And like,
yes,
it's blowing up your own game. And it's like, you don't need to say stuff. Like sometimes just keep your mouth shut, and that's the best option. And less can be more instead of making a scene. But yeah, I think Say and Mary, I don't know why they hate each other so much, but it's just it's mad that it went so far. I think even just keep your mouth shut, don't say anything, and less is more on the mat.
Yeah,
especially on the mat. It's like in front of other people. It's mad.
Yeah, especially because I feel like Mary was answering like a really generic question from Jeff, where he's like, "Are you excited?" And she was like, "Yeah," and like maybe she spoke a little bit too much about the food, but it was like such a kind of like broad question. It was like really nothing. And then like obviously, she comes back to that and she upsets people on her own tribe who also have lost with her. But I will say, I'm gonna say this. I agree with her in her feud with Chrissy. Should she say it? No. Obviously you don't say it. You don't have to say like every, maybe that's why her name is Say, because she says everything that she's thinking. And that's been there the whole time. But I think that I agree with her when she's like, I need a break and I want some fruit. And Chrissy's like, I've never done a challenge. I've never sat out of a challenge. It's like, you've never been to tribal council at that point. She was going to tribal council every night. They didn't have fire for like 10 days. No, yeah, she deserves a break more than anyone. It's true. And she deserves fruit. Yes. Now, people don't necessarily get what they deserve on Survivor. That's still going to upset people. But objectively, Say was correct. I want to put that out there.
Yeah. No, I agree with that as well. Yeah, it's very easy to not go into tribal council, and just because she sat out one challenge does not mean that she can't have a break. She's been out every night at tribal council, up again, no fire, challenge, tribal council, challenge, tribal council. Like she's had it pretty rough. Is there a record as well for like a tribe going to tribal council in a row?
Well, yes, we get that a lot actually. Like most seasons, there's a disaster tribe who goes to tribal council like a hell of a lot, because they're like engineering disaster tribes who go to tribal council like all the time, and then they don't have fire, so they keep going more, and then they can't get anything together, and it just compounds. So no, it's a record since season 45, so 3 seasons. But no, but even Yanu, actually, to be fair, no, that was just a medivac. It's a 2-season record, Matt. That's where we're at with the
2-season. This is what it's like in Survivor US.
Yes, that's the disaster tribes are a really big part of it. So she having been a part of that, I will say it helps you get chizzy points, going into these tribal councils, and it helps you with confessionals. She's broken the confessional record. To be fair, it's longer episodes, but she has 42 confessionals, so she's broken the 5-episode confessional record at every point. The next highest in the season is Carl with 24, and she has 18 more. She has almost double. And that's
insane.
It's crazy.
42 in 5 episodes is mad for kind of anything, isn't it?
Well, not for Australian Survivor, but yeah, for US Survivor, it's unheard of. So literally, it's historic. So that is crazy. I think
if you go into tribal council all the time and survive, there is a positive thing if you're surviving it. I know maybe you're losing a lot of tribe mates, but I think it's a positive thing if you keep going to tribal council and you keep surviving, getting a lot of confessionals, you're still in the game. I like the idea. I used to like going to tribal council sometimes, especially at the start in the pre-merge of the UK, when I was on Calaton. I didn't mind tribal council sometimes, because if you placed well enough, it's all right.
Yeah, well, we have seen people do really well from disaster tribes. Like you come in as less of a threat, and you come in with possible options that emerge where you look at like something maybe like a Siva as like this big block, which we'll talk about for them. So
Okay.
there are pros and cons, but the con is definitely, having to fight for your life in that first week, maybe needing a bit of a break and a kiwi fruit. And I think that that's acceptable, and maybe people should have empathy to that. But the thing is, as well, is
Yes.
like if Chrissy doesn't like it, then it's bad social play. Like you don't want to put people off, even if I think you have the moral high ground. I think that's right. And you really don't want to keep going to tribal councils and losing your vote and then getting screwed out of the game. Like, I think, going to tribal council, if you're a good player to like help your skills and whatever, that could be a good thing. But when there's so much diminished agency in the new era, it really just feels like at a point you're opening yourself up to a game of chance. So like, I don't think that being in the disaster tribe is something I would want, although it has worked out for the people who survive it. But like, I would rather be like in it to win it, to get to the merge. And some people have not been to tribal council yet. And look at how Cedric and Say have fought for their lives.
Yeah, and you look, some people not going, and some people have been to tribal council with like 4 people. It is a game of chance. It is sometimes a game of chance. If someone doesn't have a vote, someone's got an idol, shot in the dark. The shot in the dark, that's a mad concept as well. So it's 1 in 6 chance. So there's one scroll in 6 that says safe.
Yes.
What are the what are the chances?
1
in 6.
Yeah,
that is the chance. But that is putting your whole game on. That's crazy.
Yeah, and you're 2 seasons in, and you've literally won Survivor, and it's this complicated. Talking about where the people get screwed over and went wrong. Do you see anywhere that Bianca went wrong? Like, what did she do here to take agency over the fact that, to be fair, she had diminished agency? But do you think was it wrong to tell Cedric about her lost vote? Was that on her?
Well, I think she's instantly then given Cedric power. But I don't know what reason though. I don't know why she would actually. Why does Cedric need to know this? I think she's maybe trying to build a bit of a good rapport between them both, thinking that the trust will help. But you kind of get why Cedric would look at that and think, oh well, Bianca doesn't have a vote. Tick. Like, it just makes Cedric's job maybe easier knowing that. But then we've seen Cedric. Someone's told him that they don't have a vote. He votes him out. Someone doesn't tell him. He votes him out. Yeah, I don't know. I think she tried. It was kind of going down fighting, it's a very tough one.
I think for her, she was thinking about coming back and having to manage everyone being angry. And the first issue I have with that is like, get back on the beach. Like, at the point where you're back on the beach to a probable merge, like, that is future Bianca's problem. Like, I think it's a running issue I kind of see also in Australian Survivor, a lot of this at the moment, where it's like people operating from the wrong leverage point. Like, yeah, you want to have the luxury of protecting your future game. Of course you do. But if you literally don't know if you'll survive tonight and you don't even have a vote, get through tonight and then worry about it in 3 hours from now. And you'll be in a lucky position to worry about it because you'll be in the game to worry about it. And I think that she was future planning from a position that she didn't have. Like, just hoping that Cedric will flip on Say on the revote when there's a 2-2, which seemed likely to happen, and she's not one of the options. That was her best bet. So I think that was a mistake. And I also think this is a big thing in Australian Survivor at the moment. Stop telling people things right before you go to tribal council. This is the kind of thing where everyone who says it is like, I did it so I could control the situation. And every single time we see the person feels like they are trying to be controlled and they don't like that. And they will then lash out to try and assert their own control by either blowing up your spot or finding a new plan, as Cedric does here. It's obvious you're doing it in self-interest. It's obvious you're doing it for control. Like, the fact that you're doing it then to have control is so clear that people don't want you to have control and they fight against it. Even if they're looking a gift horse in the mouth and you're actually doing them a favor, which just happened in Australian Survivor, they will try and assert their agency when they feel like put upon right before tribal council. So I feel like he probably felt like, you're not cornering me into this. And honestly, if she'd given him more time, he might have been like, okay, maybe we'll 2-1-1 Chrissy out. Like, maybe he would have A, felt more trust, and B, like, thought through the very complicated quasi-prisoner's dilemma that I've already gone through for him. But in the moment, it's just like, she doesn't have a vote. I feel scared. I feel scared for Say. Okay, at the point where I'm prioritizing Say, which we're saying is fine for him, I can't think of another thing to get out Chrissy. I need to, like, I have diminished trust with Bianca. She's trying to control me, and I need to just exploit that vulnerability. So I think that there's a lack of trust and a lack of time for him to actually come to a plan that may be better for him, could certainly be better for her, and might actually use their relationship positively rather than it feeling like an attack in that moment. And we see this all the time in current Survivor where people are doing it right before, and it's just so transparent for me.
Mm-hmm. And I think with the lack of time for Cedric to think, the easiest thing to do is to probably not go with Bianca. So she kind of shot herself in the foot there. But I also get why Bianca maybe would tell him she's scrambling, she's trying to think of anything. Probably not the best timing just before Tribal Council. And I think Cedric even says something like, she's come to me just before Tribal Council. Like, it's just a bit of a mess. And it is, because then you're second guessing, and he's just going to do the easiest thing for him in that situation.
100%. And just like that does feel like you just are then completely shifted into a corner where you have to do like the expendable thing, and she feels super expendable, and she's so vulnerable at that point, rather than like, I'm coming to you so we can like do something together where you can actually help me. And maybe at that point, if he can trust her and really feels like he has that trust with her and really has the time and space to think about it, maybe then you go to Chrissy and like, we should vote for Bianca, split their votes in 2-1-1 over the top. Like, maybe there's an option for him there, but it does feel like the easiest thing in the moment is just like, we'll just vote for her, because it's probably going to be either her or Say. Getting to that Chrissy option is harder and more difficult to think about, and definitely more difficult to do. So at that point, well, I mean, he does get Chrissy to vote for Bianca, but he would have to then think to come over the top and vote for her. So maybe it's a similar like effort level, but like thought level and like thinking through all the permutations as we've just done for 30 minutes. He didn't have that. And maybe had he had the day to think about it and more trust with her, like maybe he would have come to that. And maybe like it seemed like his order of who he wanted to keep might have been like Say first. And once he like was really trying to keep Say, it seems like, okay, well now I have to vote out Bianca and like Chrissy last. If he could have felt a way to like maybe take out Chrissy, which we're saying could be fine for him to keep her, but if he felt like there was a way he could have taken her out, like maybe he would have come to that and chosen Bianca over Chrissy, but he just wasn't going to choose her over Say.
Yeah, true. And I think it was interesting what you say about come back to the camp messy. Like, instead of not coming back to camp at all, which has happened to Bianca, come back to the camp in a mess. As long as you're still in the game, that's the best. That's the best thing. But obviously, Bianca's tried to save a relationship or tried to build on something. If she does come back, just come back and resolve that tomorrow. You've got another day in the game. If you don't go home.
Especially, there's like a real big chance you're going to merge as well. So it's like you have a new complete life in the game. Like, really just feels like you need to come back. This is, again, very, very topical in Australian Survivor at the moment as well, about whether people should just like take the easier thing and then not future plan as much if they can't afford to. So I think it cornered Say, and I think that she misjudged how much of like Say would be his priority, because she said in Exits that she was telling him like, Say's come for you. She knows that it's been, dramatic with Vula, but maybe doesn't understand the level that Vula will still show up to each other, that Cedric will continue to prioritize Say when, the chips are down. And I feel like maybe she misjudged that connection between Say and Cedric.
Yeah, the Say and Cedric like dynamic is funny, because like he single-handedly saved her twice. Like he's kept her in the game twice.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes and like how he uses her later on in the game, and how it ends up probably falling apart for them both together.
Yeah. Again, one of the times he did save it from himself, but this time he actually went out of his way to save Say. Like when Bianca's coming to him, she's like, Say is going home, and he changes it to actively save Say. And I hope that she kind of sees that connection, and maybe it even buys back some goodwill that he's lost fairly over the time with her. So it's a very interesting relationship. What did you think about, people are joking that this vindicates Justin, because Justin didn't tell Cedric about his vote. There's a big reason, possibly, maybe, that he went home. Cedric didn't trust him as much, but then Bianca told Cedric about her lack of vote, and then he sent her home. And people are like, well, you can't win. Like, how did you see him doing this?
I just think, though, the tribal council where Justin did go home was the craziest tribal council I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In just kind of what was going on.
Same almost.
And we have to give Cedric some sort of thing of, I understand maybe emotions are high at the time. His head was probably everywhere. He's got Say pitched him quite well at the time. She was quite passionate in there. I trusted you. I've trusted you with everything. He's a liar. Say was really like giving it to him in the moment in the tribal council. So all that has to kind of be accepted. But I just think, I don't think he should have saved Bianca just because she told him about not having a vote, even though I think it's just unfortunate for Justin that Cedric went against him. But I do think Say spoke well in that tribal council when Justin went home, and she played on his emotions. Cedric as well does seem like a very respectable. He's a surgeon. He's an emotional guy. He's a family man. I don't know. I think Say really done well by saving herself. Then
I completely agree with you. I think that Justin went much more for how Say out-argued him than him not telling about the vote. Now, again, that's something she very much used in that argument, so maybe it's hard to separate that. But
yeah,
I feel like she was probably arguing a lot more about their relationship, where he'd referred to her as a daughter in this game. And we see that priority here again. Like, there's clearly a connection there. I feel like she just really use that argument. And I actually really feel like, as funny as the jokes are, this is such a different situation, because I feel like Justin had been Cedric's priority until he was out argued. He was Cedric's priority. So I didn't see a reason not to tell Cedric, because then it becomes, I don't have a vote. Wasn't my fault. Wasn't Bianca's fault either. But you need to protect me and like shore us up. And again, there was almost no way Justin could go if Cedric just stayed with him. So just like keeping that trust and just like keeping Cedric on track was fine. Like, that's like, I'm telling you this so that you maintain me because I'm your priority, which he had been. Whereas Bianca gave him a gap to exploit for his actual priority, which was Say. So that's, I think, the difference, is that Justin would have been going to him as a priority, and Bianca went to him to target his priority in Say, and then he saw the gap to just like, again, fall back on a Bianca vote. So I think I get the jokes, but I do think it's quite different, as funny as it is that Cedric has been faced with this twice in the 4 tribal councils that he's been to thus far.
I get what you mean. Twice, it's the same thing, but like you were saying, very different kind of circumstances with who and the situations he was in with them both.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask, do you think that Mitch was in on this? So the two options are that because we didn't see him even go to Chrissy, right? So that's crazy from an editing perspective. I wonder if we're getting the flashback starting off the next episode. I know they were talking about this on Know-It-Alls, but yeah, we didn't even see him go to Chrissy, so we don't know how the plan was formed. Mitch, in the moment, it's hard to tell if he was shocked because he's so focused in his like kind Mitch way on comforting Bianca. Yeah. It was hard to tell if he was not in on the split. And again, even if he's not in, is that just because Cedric just didn't have time to tell Mitch? Like, was it literally just like functional that he went to Chrissy? Did he only want to go to Chrissy when we've seen him be closer with Mitch? Or was Mitch included, but he was in on a split? But it's very clear that Bianca doesn't have an idol for me, clearly in the way that she's acting in very desperate ways. I don't know if you would try to read that, but yeah, I mean, I don't think they necessarily know where the Lagi idol is. If Bianca would have told them about Star, maybe thrown Star in the bus. But again, can you even believe that? So it feels like she doesn't have an idol, and the split only takes it to a 1-to-1 anyway, where the 2 Bianca votes are negated and Say has voted for Chrissy, and now Mitch has voted for Say, and then Cedric has to turn on her anyway. So it's not even a great split. So I don't know that I know that Mitch was splitting here, because I don't think it makes a lot of sense. But then if he's left out of it, I don't know if that's intentional either. Like, I don't know if they just don't have time to tell him.
I agree. I think he wasn't involved in the split, but it wasn't like a big intentional thing of keep Mitch out. And I think with his vote going towards Say, that kind of proves, with all the drama of Say not being very well liked and stuff, that vote on Say maybe makes me think it's just a vote that is plucked out and say I'm voting for Say because that's why. I think it proves him voting for Say that he wasn't part of the split.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not a great split on an idol that seems non-existent. So
yes.
Yeah, I would think we're going to get a lot of this information early on. It would have been cool to get the flashback in the moment, but it's fine. But we're just having to guess. I hope that he was left out for like the first pure 2-1-1. It's going to feel upsetting if the first 2-1-1 in US Survivor history was actually just a split vote. That's really going to take a lot of the fun out of it. And that's also, well, to be fair, I would say that that's going to take like everything out of the prisoner's dilemma, but not really, because if you go to them being like, you guys split your vote, like you're still doing the same thing functionally where you can come over the top. So yeah. Then there would be a whole different thing about maybe we shouldn't split the vote. So that's the thing as well, is that then they would be leaving themselves, if Mitch is in on it, then they're leaving themselves open to possibly, then Chrissy going home. They're splitting their 2 votes. That feels crazy. That feels like if I was Chrissy and they were splitting the vote, I would be like, we'll vote for Bianca, you vote for Say, and like, I don't know if he's going to do that. But if he's not going to do that, then maybe that's the issue, like
there isn't actually like enough votes. There isn't enough votes to like split every time in Survivor US.
Yeah,
there's like 3 votes.
Your vote's so important. Maybe you don't want to split it every time.
Yeah, like literally splitting your vote could change like everything like tenfold.
Yeah. Well, we just talked about like how risky it was for Chrissy to do the 2-1-1 and that she could have gone home. So if they have a 3-person majority and she's actively splitting her vote again on a really bad split where they have to come back to a 1-to-1 anyway on a probable non-idol. Like, just thinking about it in the moment, that's not a good move. Like, don't do that. Then stick tied to Mitch is probably a good thing for the fact that she could have literally been 2-1-1 out of the game herself for either being in on a 2-1-1 without Mitch or for actively splitting from Mitch in a plan he was in on. Either way, it put her at extreme risk, and I don't think the split was worth the squeeze on that one.
Yeah, I agree. And then imagine splitting and then getting yourself voted out the game for a needless split. It's quite
that has happened though. Concept. That's happened on bigger numbers, but you'd hate to see it done when you literally had 2 numbers and you're like, we're going to do a little 1-vote split. Yeah, like, I love a split, but like, you can't be splitting every time.
No, honestly, I feel like when I watch Survivor, I don't think I could deal with getting like, but I know I haven't been voted out ever, but I couldn't deal with getting voted out by like a twist or like, that is humble brag to be fair, a twist or like something to like my own mistake. Like when I nearly messed up with that lobster pod, looking back at that, I would have been voted out due to my own mistake, and I don't think I'd have been able to live with myself for something like that. Something that you can actively change, you know what I mean?
That's why you got to play a near perfect game and then win. That's the only way to play Survivor, just to keep the demons at bay. Yeah, 100%. Humble brag for sure. But imagine the flex if Cedric got them in on a plan, but got them to split their vote on a split that was, like, again, not super, definitely not essential, and also very minimally functional, if that. Got them to split their vote by being like, if you take it to the 1-1, I'll vote with you, and then 2-1-1 Chrissy out of the game. Now that actually would mean that he'd be like Dr. Evil. Like, people are talking about him like he's a sweet father and surgeon, but like it's possible that he would be like, or he'd be like a King George level, like literally like killer surgeon.
That's going to be extreme.
Yeah. You know how they say that like surgery halfway through looks like murder?
Yeah, you could imagine Cedric, a big knife just you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think he's funny. I think he's funny. He's a funny character because even at the tribal council when Justin went home, when Say was like pitching to him and it was all emotional, he did look just a bit like in shock and confused. It was just like, I don't think he knew what he was going to do or what he wanted to do until he made the decision at the end. He was quite, he was put on the spot. But I like him. I think he's kind of, you get why he's that father figure. He's like a friendly, I get on with him, I think.
Yeah, he's been in so much power, but he's not reveling in it. It's kind of like Joe, who we'll talk about now, who also it's like, everyone loves me, but I hate that because I'm gonna have to betray people. And it's like, he's cursed by his own power. Like, everyone has liked and wanted to work with Cedric. If you look at his tribes, this is why he's had so much power. Like, Kevin wanted to work with him, Justin clearly wanted to work with him, Say wanted to work with him. So that was the majority, that he had like total control on that tribe. And then in this tribe, Chrissy clearly did work with him. Mitch has wanted to work with him. We saw that really great connection between them. Bianca told him more than anyone about her lack of vote, and Say they've had their issues, but they've been close in the past. That's pretty good. Like, that's why he's had this power. But again, like in using it, some people might think it's more murder than surgery. Maybe that's just, again, what it looks like, because we haven't seen how this turns out. But I think that some of it does make sense. And at least you have to credit the fact that he's in a position like that. And I don't even think a decision today like this is really that bad. If it's probably just fine. It probably was fine.
Yeah, and I think as well, sometimes, like you said, having too much trust and too many people relying on you can lead to your downfall. So I think it's about finding, you don't want that. You want to hold back, especially for a character like Joe. Joe's already big physical threat, big, like clearly a lovely guy. Like, is it a bit too much though? Do you want all them eyes on you? Because I don't think I would.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue to talking about this moment with Eva, which is making, I don't know what's happening in the UK, but in Australia, it's making headlines here. The last time US Survivor made headlines in Australia was probably around Survivor Game Changers for worse reasons than this. This is at least for positive reasons. And it's crazy how much of a moment this was, for Eva. What did you think about this moment, obviously, where Eva has the meltdown and Joe comforts her? Like, this was a, historic moment for the show.
It was quite like, it was like theatre, like what was happening. It was mad. And I think like the music, the moment, and it was a perfect moment. We'd obviously seen in previous episodes and we knew the situation, and the fact it all kind of come, and it was perfect how it worked. And I think Eva said something like, when Eva was struggling with the challenge, she was getting frustrated and she shouted, "Why can't I do this? Why can't I do this?" And I think we went on, in that couple of minutes, we went on a journey with Eva through being like neurodiverse kind of thing, and we got to see the levels of it, of like the why can't I do this, the frustration, then the tears, so like the emotion, and then the overcoming of it, and then the smiles at the end. And it was a lovely journey with Joe as well. And it was like Joe thinks about his family, his kids, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really emotional moment. The thing that got me more than anything, and like even on my rewatch today, I can't not cry watching this. Joe was amazing, but Joe is like an incredible human. Obviously, it speaks for itself. Yeah. Joe's her number one ally. Joe's this like huge bond that she has. But Star, the way before even she gave the idol, we'll talk about everything with Star and how this plays out strategically. But the way Star responded to Eva, who has been her ops, like they have been at war pretty much. We've seen no love lost between the two of them, and the way she was holding Eva and encouraging her and saying, like, I think she was saying your dad will be proud of you, and when she came back to camp, like the incredible speech she gave her about how she'll inspire the next generation, that came from Star and opened up a connection between the two of them, was so powerful to me. And I love Star, by the way. Like I feel like people don't get her and that she's putting people off, but I really like her because I feel like there's no malice. Like she's just out there trying to like play the game, and the way she responded to Eva with so much compassion and empathy, like, oh, I love that so much.
Yeah, I think Star, this was a great episode for Star, and I think this is, I really, what I liked about the situation is she was championing, she was championing, I can't speak, she was championing Eva.
Championing? I can't even, that's a very
I don't think I can even say words.
Championing. Is it championing? I think it's championing.
Championing.
I think we did it.
Yeah, she was championing Eva. and Eva, and like, it kind of brings out a connection. And it, as much as it was a nice emotional moment at the time, that's obviously brought them to a connection, especially everything to do with the idol as well, how it kind of worked. Giving the idol to Eva is interesting, risky, but good, but also public. Does it help? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Take a stand. Yes or no on this very bold move to give Eva the idol?
It's a big move. It's public.
Yes.
She's on the hill. She'll have to die on that hill. She's done it. It was public. Yeah, I think good idea. Eva, everyone kind of was rallying around Eva. It was good. There was a lot of emotion due to her, like she called it an episode that she had in the challenge. So I think, yeah, it was probably the right thing to do. She's made an ally in Eva. Eva is very like an emotional based player,
especially in that moment. So,
yeah. So I think she'll definitely remember what Star's done, and that'll work with her down the line. But yeah, I think it'll maybe up her social currency going forward, Stars. But I like Star as well. I think great episode.
Yeah, this is a podcast of hot takes because I feel like people are coming very low on Cedric. Like, what are you doing, Dr. Evil here? And then people have like, Star, don't give away the idol. And like, we're kind of higher on Cedric. And I think I'm going to agree with you that I don't hate this from Star. It definitely was a lot. I think in the moment, firstly, I love the connection, but I actually thought this was really good from both Eva and Star, because for Star, you have a public idol that everyone knows about. Like, again, like Eva was her enemy and she already knew about it, and she was already telling people about it. I don't know how much Star knew that was public, but I've been told by Kieran from South Africa, he had a great point that if something's ever, a little bit out there, you should just assume it's fully out there. Like, you at that point can't control the flow of information. So by telling everyone,
good.
He reclaims the information, gets it to a point where she could actually get her vote back if they would ever go to a tribal council and solve the idol and the Beware advantage and actually get the idol. And then you're going to have this public idol, which is going to make you a target. So you're going to have to burn it pretty much immediately. Does she get more utility out of really connecting with Eva in this really big moment that is, again, super, super memorable? It's like the kind of thing that, like, you remember the way people treat you in your worst moments. I think about that all the time. Like when I had like grandparents pass away, or my cat, or, when the people that were kind about it, like, you really remember that. And I feel like in a moment like this, which had, big downs and big highs for Eva, I think you remember a gesture that big in such a big moment. And does she get more out of like connecting with Eva, who she's been very disconnected from, over having to probably burn it at Murgatory? Like, probably yes. I actually think this was okay.
Yeah, I agree. And I think given given that the public, like you said, it's a public idol, the Star couldn't even get anywhere. So at the time before Eva opened it, Star didn't have a vote. So now Star's got the vote, a vote back. She's given the public idol to Eva, whereas it's maybe good not to hold the public idol, but to give it to someone else. You could probably, the idol could still be used, you know, or Eva, I give you the public idol, remember? Can you help me? So she's not being in possession of the public idol, but kind of owning it in Eva's pocket is nice.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that Eva needs to use it like quickly, as
like it has to be used soon. Yeah,
exactly. And for the group, like she even says, like, this is for us, and like for whatever group, like whether that's old Lagi or this new group that's never been to tribal council that has no real connections, like whatever, she has to use it for her and Star in some like macro way to form a group or just burn it. So it could help Star anyway, and I think that that's what Eva needs to do. I think that Eva responds really well to Star, like even when Star gives that information, which Eva knew already, because she'd been told by Joe. But she's like, "Oh, you're such a good liar," and I really actually want to credit Eva for the way this was played. Yes. Like at first, when everything happened, you know, when she has an episode, which is so far beyond the game, but like when she has an episode, I'm thinking this is unfortunate for the gameplay, because like it's probably pretty unfortunate for Joe, and it's not great to like out their relationship, and like also for both of them, that story is going to be hard to overcome late in the game from a jury perspective. But I think within how unfortunate parts of that are unfortunate and unavoidable, she does as well as she possibly can with it. She gives context that she has to give in explaining her story, and again, it actually opens up these connections where people understand her better, where Star understands her better, and she can connect with people better. So she probably could have put up a little bit of a fight in accepting the idol, just a little bit to begin with. But I think taking it to use it communally, to use it like for Star or in a group, to build a group very, very quickly is fine. And I think the fact that out of this difficult situation, she actually bridges a huge gap and makes a connection is really, really good. And I think in the moment, explaining her story was very necessary. In some ways, there are things that are going to be difficult to overcome from a game perspective, but I think she did really well with this, especially given like the hurdles it presents.
Absolutely, and I think there's something so crazy in from Eva opening up. She's actually opened up Star as well, because we've seen that the trust wasn't there before that, and credit to Eva, who said prior to this episode, she struggles to spot liars, and she shouldn't know when people are lying to her, and like the social cues and stuff. She played it so well, even though she knew about the idol and stuff. She played shocked about the Star and idol. So yeah, Eva opened up Star, and Eva's ended up with an idol in her pocket due to that. So it's credit to Eva where credit's due.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would love to look ahead to where Murgatory goes, knowing that they're going to be merging next week. Do you know why it's called Murgatory, by the way? Have you been...
Is it a mix? Can I guess? This is a guess.
Yeah.
A mixture of purgatory and merge.
Yes, that's good. From context clues, you got it. That's because they aren't technically merged, but they're all on the same beach, and it's like basically a merge. And from the first time they did that, they started calling it Murgatory, and then people fight over who claimed the term, and we've been calling it, people call it actually Mergatory. I do the hard G, and I refuse to.
I like Mergatory. I like Mergatory.
Well, that you're in the majority. I'm just full of hot takes like all the time. This whole podcast is hot takes. It's Murgatory forever. It's better that way. That attaches to the purgatory part rather than the merge part, and I just think it sounds better.
Hey, I love to be in the majority. You know what I mean? Keep myself in the majority, and you're always okay.
Well, not this season, where a majority again has decided the vote one time.
Yeah, in fact, you're right. I'd be gone.
This is you want to be in the minority at the moment. Okay, so let's look ahead at who could go, because usually with Murgatory, it feels like they often go for like easy consensus boots, like Rome last season. They often go that way because half the people are only half the people are vulnerable, so people kind of get desperate. You want to make sure your allies are safe. Like people tend to pile on targets, and I think there's a few good candidates. We talked about Say. People aren't loving Say. If she's vulnerable and there aren't other targets available, again, Lagi don't want to work with her. Siva, Chrissy has it out for her. Is Mary protecting her? Maybe. That would actually be incredible to watch. I've really loved their journey. But is Cedric protecting her? Maybe. He's done it multiple times. But I don't know that will be enough. I think that if there aren't other options, I think Say could be in trouble after playing more Survivor in a couple of weeks than most people will play in a lifetime.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the boring. I feel so boring saying that Say will be the mergatory boot. But if you look at everyone that's left, Say probably is the common. She'll be the common target. But no,
Well,
be
yeah.
mad to see Cedric try and save her again. And then if Mary tries saving her, well, that'd be. I would not hold my breath on that happening. Actually,
But I do have another option who I think actually could be a priority in front of Say, and that is Charity, who also has a lot of enemies, seemingly her entire starting tribe, now Eva as well. I think Charity could really be this Murgatory boot if she's vulnerable. It will depend obviously on like who wins what, but we've seen David say he wants to get rid of her. I was like, that feels a little bit too early for him to do it at the swap. He wanted to do it immediately. She hasn't gone tribal council.
yes.
But yeah, I feel like this is the time. Like if the rest of Siva want to move forward and they haven't lost a member yet, and they want to maybe seem a little bit less scary, losing a Charity, I think could really, lessen that threat level. And they all have a lot of other options to keep doing well. It might be a little bit. It might feel like Siva should like hunker down and win because it's 6 Sivas and 7 non-Sivas left, 4 Lagis and 3 Vulas. And Mitch has a blocker vote, which is the only advantage and Star/Eva's idol in the game right now. But getting into a 6-6 is tricky. Like, how is that going? And then even if you were to win that, somehow you'd still come back to the 6-6. I feel like, and they don't like Charity. Like, I feel like you would be going to war for a group you don't really want. Whereas you can kind of like lose the battle, quote unquote, on your own terms, possibly be less threatening. No one really wants to work with Charity anyway. And then maybe they think less about you if it's like 5-4-3 and not 6-3-3 or something where you just
seems like a big
behemoth.
gap. Yeah, that extra person is a big gap in the 6th. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sacrificing one of the own, Charity probably is the one that they would
definitely
sacrifice.
Yeah.
No, that's a good shout, to be fair. Good shout. Charity, I feel like I haven't seen loads of Charity. Am I wrong in saying that?
She hasn't got a tribal council.
Yeah, so I feel like I barely know Charity, but yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah. I just feel like the one thing we get is that people just don't feel great about her. Mitch likes her. Mitch is, by the way, more well-suited to these tribal challenges than anyone I've pretty much ever seen in my life. You see the way he nails, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
He's done amazing.
No, he has. I really like Mitch. I think he's got a lot to give. I think he's here for a long time in the game. I can see him going far.
He might be the only person who's trying to save Charity. So I feel like she could be a possible consensus. Like, how do you see, like, where do you see everyone else? Who else are you liking, by the way? Because we haven't even spoken about New Vula, or what I'm calling Nula, which is Camilla, Kyle, Joe, and Shaheen, who also have an incredible scene in this episode that was so educational and also just amazing. I love all 4 of them. And by the way, fun fact about them, in a secret scene, Camilla said she likes them more than old Siva. That's how bonded this 4 have become after being at Tribal Council voting against each other last episode. So that's also very different for the Siva Lagi quote-unquote war. This group actually prioritizing each other over that possible quote-unquote war.
That's mad. I really like Camilla. I think Camilla, I like Kyle as well. I think great move in episode 4 that they've done together. I think really they played that perfectly. And I really like how Camilla, in the confessional, she was emotional. And I love seeing that side to players as well. I love seeing the kind of emotional side, not too public, like in the confessional. And yeah, Camilla's great, Kyle's great. And so them 4 are liking each other then. They're liking as a 4.
They love each other. That, like, well, I mean, we could even see in the episode like how bonded they were over that like pastry discussion. But yeah, in the secret scene, she even said, I don't know if she was kind of kidding, but she was like, I like them more than Siva. And she was in a great spot on Siva. She was in a majority. And even then, and it seemed like Siva were really going to, win the day. They were so communal. They shared all their advantages. She did that as well. It seemed like they were all this really, not Charity, other than Charity, it's like really close tribe. And she's now saying that she possibly will prioritize this group of 4, which is crazy.
That's how good Camilla is. She's kind of come into this tribe, played a really good move to kind of get themselves off the bottom to now in a 4 that, like, the California Girls Alliance was, they've ended up losing was it the extra vote that Thomas had? They've lost an extra vote.
Well, he had a vote steal.
Oh, so they've lost the vote steal and an ally, and then Camilla and Kyle have ended up being in now a solid 4 with these people that were voting against them. So credit to Camilla's social game.
Yeah, credit to all of them. Credit to Joe and Shaheen, who again were coming for them last episode and being like kind of arrogant around thinking they had all the power. They lost the power, and now they've bonded so much with them. Like again, will Joe and Eva's clear connection cause issues there? Like we aren't hearing Joe saying that this is more of a priority to him than like Eva, for example. But yeah, I do really wonder where this will go from this. I think because I really like this four, but I think it's a credit to all of them to come back from a divisive tribal council and just be like, they were like, we don't want to vote one of us out. We like each other so much. And just to see them win that challenge because they so badly wanted to move through the merge together. Like that was another emotional moment in this episode for me. There was a lot of emotions going on.
No, it's mad. But I do think, no, you're so right. Not just credit to Camilla, credit to Shaheen and Joe and everyone. Because
Kyle,
it's so, and Kyle, it's so easy to come back, I think, and play on emotion. The vote didn't go their way, hold a grudge. And you see so many players do it and it doesn't work in the favour and just kind of, right, move on, forget about it. And now they're all best friends. So where could this go? This is good. I like seeing kind of people who can jump over hurdle. It's about adapting in Survivor. I think adaptation is so important in the game.
Yeah, my one question about this is that they're still pulling off the gambit where Carl and Camilla aren't so close apparently. And like Carl's even like using the fact that like, oh, I knew people went through my bag to be like, you know, you tipped me off. Like this was really on you guys. You made a mistake here. And then that's, I mean, so interesting for me because they voted together. They couldn't even afford, because they were trying to take it to the 3-3 in case the R didn't hit. They couldn't even afford for like Camilla to throw a vote on Carl, who was going to be immune. So they had to vote together and they're still trying to do that. My one question is like, could anyone in Siva ever out to them that they've been close this whole time? Because they are a four who apparently love each other and have this clearly like beyond the game connection in the conversations that they'd had. But like also they're still lying to them. Like Camilla and Carl are still lying to Joe and Shaheen about how close they've been this whole time. And the like even what their move was last time. Like Joe and Shaheen still don't really know what happened with that. I feel like they feel like Carl just played an idol rather than it was like Carl and Camilla really like did this vote together and it was like a whole gambit that they're still continuing to pull off.
I think the way they've played it, they've played it smart enough that it won't come back to bite them. How they've played their friendship. I think, it's not too dramatic and big, and they're just downplaying it and downplaying the connection and just sticking with that's perfect. And I think, I do. Yeah. I love that that little move. And I think, what's your thoughts on going through someone's bag in Survivor?
I think it's okay. I mean, I'm also like fine with most things. Like if it's in the rules, I'm okay with it. I think players tend to feel badly about it because it's like your one thing, your one bit of privacy. Yeah, as someone who's never experienced that, I'm like, do whatever you don't hate the player, hate the game. If it's in the rules, then you can do it for me.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on the going through the bag, but I found it hilarious that they went through the bag, still couldn't find it, and it was in there, and it still ended up working for them, So
yeah.
No, Camilla and Kyle, I'm liking that duo.
Bag searching hasn't made its way to the UK yet. To be fair, it was like one season deep, and people were like, "Don't even make any moves." So I don't think bag searching. Not you, but others.
Bag searching.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? Survivor UK. But when
people would have quit.
Yeah, probably. When I didn't lock the lobster pot, when Nathan found the idol that was in the lobster pot, I was thinking to myself, because I thought I was going to be going home. I thought I need to get that idol off Nathan, just throw it into the sea or something, get rid of it. No one will ever know. But yeah, like you said, people are so loyal in the UK, loyalty based. They will not. Yeah. If you're ratting through someone's bag, that is a crime in the UK.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I think I'm okay with it because I'm like, lie, steal, chill. Listen to me. Lie, cheat, and steal. I'm 4 podcasts deep. Did I ever mention that today? Yeah. Well, I think what you're saying is correct in that the way Carl and Camilla have played the separation between them, if they were like, we hated each other, then that would be a very active lie. It is still a little bit of a white lie. They are lying by at least omission, and they're definitely downplaying the relationship, but it might be harder to out that. Like if a Siva person is ever feeling desperate and kind of wanting to break up this 4, if they end up becoming the power 4, it might be harder to blow that up on like, they were actually really close. It's like, yeah, but they also seem to like each other. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah. Like maybe it's really hard to quantify relationships, And
I think when it's, like you kind of said, when it's not, I hate this person, I love this person, when it is just in the middle ground, kind of, they get on, they're friends, there's nothing to really tell. So nobody from the OG Siva tribe will be able to really say anything, because like you said, oh yeah, they get on. Oh yeah, they don't seem too close. They're not too. It's just a nice middle work together. Don't show that they care too much about each other. I like it.
Yeah. Siva have done well in the swap because they were swapped to a minority on every tribe and haven't lost a member. And if anything, have actually picked up possible allies where we see that Mary really likes David, Eva really likes David, Star might kind of come with that now. I don't know the relationship today. Everyone seems to like David. Cedric, we've seen connect with Mitch. We know even they gave up Bianca, who wanted to work with Mitch. We see that that obviously Cedric's worked with Chrissy here. We see this connection obviously between Khan, Camilla, Joe, and Shaheen. There's a lot of options for Siva. I really am putting my money on someone from Siva winning this game for me.
Yeah, true. They've got the numbers. David, he really likes milk. We found that out in this episode.
Well, he's talking about milk all the time. That's been like one of his major storylines. I love milk too.
Chocolate milk, yeah. That was one of my questions. Do you like milk? I'm not really like it. I like it with cereal. I like it in a cup of tea. Not really by itself.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I love tea. I'm British in that way. I have a lot of tea.
Do you actually?
I love milk. Yeah, I take my vitamins at night with milk, not water.
You take them with milk? I think my dad drinks milk at night. I don't know. I'm not really like a milk guy. I do like an oat milk and stuff. I like fancy milk, like in my coffees now. Oat milk, coconut milk, if I'm feeling sweet. No. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I literally cup of tea, dash of milk.
Yes, obviously, but and a lot of sugar. Again, I'm very unhealthy, but I started doing it recently. Well, not recently, probably it's been months now. But I started being like, I don't want to take my vitamins with water, and then I started taking them just a little bit of milk. And now I just do it every night. I just take my vitamins with milk. David, call me. Let's talk about milk. I agree with you. Chocolate milk, strawberry milk, regular milk. Yes. Water.
Yeah, that is something I'm on. Strawberry milk, flavored milk, unreal.
Yes. 100%.
Do you have this in Australia? We have like farms where you go to the farm, you get a glass bottle, you put the glass bottle into the machine, and fresh farm milk comes out flavored blueberry muffin, strawberry. Honestly, incredible. When you come to the UK, you have to try fresh, beautiful flavored milk. Unreal.
Well, I don't like blueberry muffin. Is there a different option that I could have?
The blueberry muffin, they do cream egg flavor, they do Biscoff. Honestly,
I don't think it's fresh farm milk if it's Biscoff flavored.
No, I think there is maybe a few additives.
I think they maybe have to. I don't think there are cows doing that. I mean, I'm not like in farming, but yeah, okay, fine. I'm really glad I'm coming to the UK. Oh my god, how exciting!
I'll show you the sites. Take some photos. Be good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm gonna be missing 3 weeks of the late game 48. God only knows how many Prisons Dilemmas I will miss in those weeks. But when I miss those podcasts, everyone can know I'm drinking Biscoff milk straight from the farm.
Exactly, right from the cow.
Yeah,
it'd be good.
Imagine how many milk discussions I'm also going to miss in those 3 weeks. It's genuinely sad to think about.
True.
Who are you looking at now? Like, if you had to put money on a winner, who's your winner pick at the moment?
Ooh. Maybe Star.
Star?
Maybe Star. Maybe Camilla. They're the two that I'm liking. Really like Star. And the more this episode's gone on, I like Star even more. Because I just think, you said it right, nobody gets her.
Yeah.
And I think I've started to get her.
Yeah, you've started to get her.
I've started to get Yeah, she's a star. No, I've got, honestly, maybe Star, maybe Camilla. I like Camilla. I want Camilla, I think, so far, with what I've seen.
Yeah, my issue with Star is
funky little move.
The move from last week. That's the move that with her and Carl. That was the move you liked?
Or from Star? No, I'm just
from Camilla.
Kind of.
Oh,
Camilla.
Star.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Got our wires
with Camilla, I like the move with Kyle and kind of how
it
was played to perfection. And I just think Camilla, I think we've seen a lot of good stuff from her in the episode. A lot of like out of game stuff, emotions, and I'm not sure. I find it hard to like read and edit. I think I got Survivor 47. I said Rachel at the start, and I got that one right.
Incredible.
I picked Rachel when I was on the podcast. I think I just seen that one.
Did you?
She was just so I said it on the podcast actually. We'll have to run the tapes, but like, I seen it in Rachel early on. So maybe I'm good at predicting. But who do you think?
Well, I mean, I think my issue for Star is while I like Star, they don't get Star. So I feel like that's the uphill battle that she's running all the time. I think someone from Siva. I think Carl and Camilla are both good bets. I think David honestly is a pretty good bet. I
I
definitely
love
underestimated
David.
him. You
Yeah,
don't
I
love
love
him?
David.
Oh, you
No, I
loved him.
do.
Okay.
And I think there's often so like, especially with someone like so big and physical, I think he's got a lot about him away from that. Like, I don't know, he's showing a lot of like vulnerability. He's showing a lot of a mix that you don't often see from like a character for somebody that looks like him, which is so, I know, stereotypical, but it's nice, it's refreshing.
Yeah, I think that I mean, there's a lot of green flags. I think that like Vula have had difficulty. It might
Oh
help them
wow, I
get
think
through further, but I don't know that
yeah.
I don't know that they can I don't see Say winning from a social perspective. Mary, we haven't seen a lot of Mary. I don't know that Mary will win from even an edit perspective.
I like
Cedric, I
Mary
mean
though.
they
I do like Mary.
yeah, but they don't have as many maybe connections in the game. Maybe that's my issue
Yeah.
with compared to like a Siva.
Yeah, I definitely maybe someone from Siva then. But yeah, Camilla, I'm standing on the hill, Camilla.
That's the one.
Is
Yeah,
right.
because then like I feel like Lagi, like again, people don't get Star. Eva and Joe have this like now big like public thing, and Joe anyway, like he's so loyal, and it's also he's just like I feel like at a point you want to take out Joey. I mean, even though he is so loyal, it's like he's also such an incredible human. You would never want to sit next to him at the end. Like there's so many of extremes with Joe that you'll want to take care of in time. And Shaheen, maybe Shaheen of Lagi kind of has some runway, but again, I think coming in from Siga with the numbers from Siva, combining the tribe names, I think that's better. And I think I'm going to say if you're going to say Camilla, I'll say Kyle. I definitely see Camilla. I definitely see David. I don't see Chrissy from an edit perspective. And I don't know, she has had connections, but also always difficult in that demographic to win a jury vote. Mitch maybe has had fewer Siva connections, and I think that people will want to get rid of his story. So I'd put maybe in that order. I'd put Kyle, Camilla. I mean, and it could go either way. You've said Camilla, I'm going Kyle. I just have I had a really good feeling about Kyle pre-season, and he's like the only one I had a good feeling about who's still in the game because all of the other people I drafted, I didn't even draft him, but they're all gone. So I think Kyle for me just I didn't draft Kyle. So Kyle because of what could have been. Then Camilla just on gut instinct separating them. Then I see David who might just not be able to keep up as much strategically, but he's been doing great. He doesn't know the show so well, but like present company included, that might not necessarily matter, right? So maybe David.
Yeah,
maybe like
I would never have thought. Yeah, I'd never actually thought that David could win. But the more you say it, I like David. There's nothing. It's just the fact that he's just some like massive like guy who's like you just don't expect that kind of story to win now. I don't know. I just don't see him. But no, I think he's got a lot of green flags, like you said. Yeah, but I like David.
Yeah, the issue with David is you would think that eventually like you just get rid of him because you do end up getting rid of the big guys like that. I know that because
it's just typical.
Continuously drafted them. But then again, maybe he'll win some challenges. I don't know if the challenges will really suit his physicality going further into it. I don't know that they'll suit Mitch. Mitch has done so well in the tribal challenges, but now that's not going to help him in the individual challenges. But Mitch has a lot of connections on the outside, as we've seen with, like a Cedric as an example. I guess maybe just Cedric now because he voted out Bianca. Well, he didn't. Bianca went home. But yeah, thinking about it now, look, it's a very open field. Certainly, like Mary could win. Cedric could win. Even though it's been chaotic, like he's had power, he could navigate. It's not coming from the best spot, but he could navigate. Definitely the Lagi people could win too. It's very open because it's US Survivor. It's not like Australian Survivor. It's a lot less open a lot of the time from an edit perspective, at least.
Yeah, wow. No, it'll be interesting. How many episodes is there? So we're on episode 5. How many is left after this?
13.
There's 13 episodes altogether?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, wow. So we nearly have got... We're flying through it. It feels fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And considering I'm missing 3 weeks to go to Europe, we're really flying through it. I hope there aren't any finicky rule things while I'm gone. I hope that everyone just keeps it cool while I'm on vacation. But Survivor never takes a vacation.
Will you still be podcasting when you're over here?
No, I probably won't. Because I feel like I'm going to be in Greece. You know what I mean? And
London, you don't want to be cooped up inside in Greece. I think Greece, you want to be outside. Greece will be lovely, I think. Scotland. Yeah. I actually live quite close to Edinburgh. Well, I say close, 2 hours, but like that's probably close. Like I live like 5 hours from London. So
well, then let's catch up in Edinburgh instead of London.
So much easier. I've just realised like it would just be like coming to London. Yeah, but Edinburgh. I live near like the Scottish border, so.
Were you going to travel 5 hours to London for me to get?
I would have. Yes, 100%. Of course, I would. I would have come down.
It's only game.
You have to work on these connections.
Oh my God, that's
But
that's why as a social expert, you casually said we could get a coffee. I didn't realize it was a 10-hour round trip for you.
no, I'd have come down, come down with the caught up. I'd have spent the night in London and then come home. I'm quite easy going with I am quite easy going. I don't need much even in Survivor I didn't mind if I didn't get seconds on the food. I didn't mind because it's all some people I don't find traveling a few hours good for me. I like being busy.
That's incredibly kind. Well, I'm glad we figured out a different way. I mean, you can come to Greece if you want.
Greece, that would be something. It'll probably actually be faster for me to fly 3.5 hours to Greece than it is to get to London.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've invited you now, so if you want to join our trip, I can send you the luxury escapes that we booked, and you can maybe get a room.
Brilliant. This would be brilliant. I'd be like the son you don't want, just hanging around you. I'm adopted then. I can be.
I already said you were my son. I already said when you won Survivor, I said I'm so proud of you and you're my son.
Well, I'm in. That's brilliant. Yeah. I love Australia. I'll have to come to Australia and I'll be using that.
Yeah, and you won't even complain about the travel because apparently you were going to travel 10 hours for a cup of coffee. And we should have we were going to get lunch, right? We're going to get a dinner at least. If you're coming to London,
dinner at least.
10 hours, we should have done dinner, yeah. We'll do dinner. We'll do dinner in Edinburgh.
Dinner in Edinburgh actually sounds really good. Scottish, you're up north of the UK, the best place to be.
Okay, great. I'm glad everyone was here for us to work this out.
This is good. This is so public.
This is really good. This is good podcasting. But I'm just so touched that you were going to come 10 hours. Anyway.
I love London.
Yeah, and also to see me. Both things.
Absolutely, the Queen Survivor.
100%. Well, no, I'm not agreeing with you. I'm just agreeing that you were so kind. Anyway, he was going to come 5 hours to London. Anyway, people heard what you did. Crazy. Let's do the chizzy. Take it away, Jacob. Take a wine seat and MC Color.
2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, I came in really doubting my points. I really struggled. But the more we spoke about it and that you affirmed my hot takes, I feel good about my points. Do you want to give your points first? I actually think based on our conversation, we might go in a similar direction, but
I was thinking that. I don't want to look like I'm copying you. You're the expert, so I'm going to go first. So you want me to give 3 points first?
Yeah.
3 points first. I'm going to go with Star.
Okay.
I'm going to go 3 points for Star. I think it is maybe a bit of a hot take. Socially, there could be some social agency going forward that she's getting herself from giving the public idol, but also having some sort of ownership over the public idol as well. I love that. It's a hot take that at first I was really unsure. The first note I read about Star was like, is that the right thing to do? Would I give up an idol that was technically mine, but for the greater good, maybe? And I like it. I think it was a great episode for Star.
Yeah.
So 3 points there for Star.
Okay. Yes. Who else?
2 points. I am going to go with Cedric. I think Cedric, he had options again. He kept his cool. He's been to tribal council so many times now.
4 times.
And he's 4 times in 5 episodes. He's in a good position. He's still got Say, who I think is going to be a good shield for him. He was in control of them moments. He shows how much to survive them tribal councils. He must have a lot of control. So I think 2 points there is good for Cedric. And I think he probably did make the right decision in the tribal council. And 1 point for me, it's going to go to Eva, just for Eva, maybe even not meaning to. Eva opened up Star. Eva's now got an idol because of that, which I think is great. The only thing I didn't really like is, maybe can't be helped, is the publicness, like how public it is of Eva and Joe's relationship. But that was just kind of on emotion in the moment. It created a lovely moment. So I think Eva, everything she's overcoming, I feel like we're going on this journey with Eva of kind of, I like it. So Eva, 1 point.
Okay, I'm now struggling because now I feel like I'm looking at the charts in front of me and I don't want the charts to feel wrong. Because, okay, I'm going to give 3 points to Cedric. And that means that Cedric will be on 11 points leading this pre-merge and will be on the most points because we have Say and Camilla next on 9. I'm going to defend it. He's survived 4 tribal councils with total control every time in some of the most complex things we've seen. We've talked about it for hours over the last few weeks. And to have even just been in the know through those tribal councils, let alone to have had control, let alone to have survived it. 3 people have gone at their first tribal council of the season. Maybe another one will go next week. So to survive 4 tribal councils, it'll take some of these people through to mid-merge to get to that point, let alone that they've been so finicky with so many things. He's had allies losing votes a couple of different times, and he's made it work in a way that it seemed to make sense for him. So I'm going to defend it. And I need to credit that at least. And I also think that this was fine. And if he's going to keep working with like Chrissy and Mitch, with that Siva connection that we think can be really powerful, like I think it was fine. So I'm giving him 3 points. I was going to give 2 to Star, but you've given 3 to Star. That will put Star on 6. Now we shouldn't really be gaming the Chizzy, but should Star be on 6? Like, given that she's been on the outs for most of the merge, like I think her leaving on 4 for the pre-merge, her leaving the pre-merge on 4 feels much more right. And it feels like there are a lot of people who've played pretty well who earn so much fewer points.
I agree with what you're saying. I stand on my Star 3 points for this episode alone, but like with what I know what you mean in terms of this episode 3 is okay, but I think as a whole, probably not loads of points.
Yeah, and this was a difficult episode where, like, last week Camilla gets 6 points for like this all-time move. Carl only gets 4 points for that. Should Star get 5 points for a kind of iffy move that we liked? We did like it. But should she get 5 points for that? Yeah, it is a hot. It was in ways kind of risky, but again, I think we think that, the risk makes sense. And if anything, maybe having a public idol is more risky. So my question is, but should she get 5 points for that over like Kyle getting 4? Like now I'm looking at just like the exchange rate basically on points. I feel like maybe your 3 was enough to kind of honor her for this episode.
To justify it, yeah. But I do think as well, and we've said it a few times in this episode, it's people go to tribal council so often, although Cedric, should he be on the most points, there's an argument there. But then, like you were saying, he has been to tribal council 4 times, survived every time in some of the more different dynamics. And I just think, you can only play with what you've got to play with, you know what I mean? So, like the tools you've got. So, it just as console loads, it's what we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, but then it's like Star's actually been at the bottom. Bianca was saying Star would have gone and they got to tribal council, but that was only because she lost her vote. Here, it's like, I'm not giving it to Chrissy. I don't think this was right for Chrissy, and I also think Chrissy would have gone home if Bianca had her vote. So I have to think about that. Who else do I have? So I was going to give 2 to Star. I was going to give 1 to Eva for how she handled the situation, how she connected with Star after. I really like how all of Joe, Shaheen, Camilla, and Carl handled that 4. And but I find it really hard to split then who of the 4 should get points.
Who do you give to? Yeah.
But I kind of think maybe I should do that because like someone like Joe, I really was thinking about because it's like. It's so public, but there's also nothing else he can do there. So it's like, while it is unfortunate for gameplay, I also can't blame him. And I do think that the way he's connected with Camilla and Carl, like, that's really good. Maybe I should be giving to Joe and Shaheen. Like, you've taken care of the Star Eva side of it, and I did want to give a point to Eva, but maybe I should be giving 2 to Joe and 1 to Shaheen, who they played last week really badly, but they played like the rest of the pre-swap really well.
And I think with Joe as well, he seems so cautious in the moment to go up to Eva, and I think he knew it was kind of what's morally right and what's good for the game, and he was into, but he's an emotional loyalty player, so he had to do it. I feel bad for Joe that he had to kind of comfort her.
Yes, I think I'm going to give 2 to Joe, and here's how I'm going to justify it, because the humanity that makes Joe do that is the same humanity that will make people connect with him and 2 days later be like, I like him more than my old allies. Like, it's good from all of them, but we really see it so tangibly in Joe. And Joe, it has on 1 point through this pre-merge, and he's gone through a pre-merge with people who like him that much. All of them. I think he just needs to be credited more for the social positioning that he goes into this merge with. And we did see everything that makes Joe who he is, that creates that social positioning, we saw on full display in this episode. So I'm going to give 2 to Joe. And then 1 for me, should I still give it to Eva? Should I give it to Star? You gave Star 3. Should I give it to Shaheen? I'm going to give it to Eva. I think I was going to give it to her anyway.
I think that's definitely the best option. I think she did.
Yeah.
I think she deserves it this week. Just more so than maybe giving Star a 4.
Yeah.
Eva 2. Yeah.
We gamed it. Should we be gaming it? No. And also I feel bad that David has 1 point. And like Mitch doesn't have a point. And he connected well with Cedric and like he wasn't in on the vote maybe this episode. But there's some big glaring omissions. There's a lot of Vula. I think what the issue is like, look, Thomas had a point. Kevin left on 2 points. Justin left on 4 points. Like Vula screwed things up on the chili charts of the pre-merge, but I'm just trying to kind of equal the playing field of where we're at. So yeah.
David maybe does deserve more points, but because he hasn't been to Tribal Council yet, we're not getting the content to really like to give. But hopefully that'll kind of come soon. We'll get to see some more David content and see where he's at.
Yeah, to be fair though, like Joe has only been to Tribal Council once and it went so badly. Like he hasn't won a vote, but I'm still giving him points. I feel like it sets him up well. The kind of person he is that we saw in this episode sets him up well. Too loyal, too big a threat, but like also everyone loves him. And like that, the best parts of that I have to credit. So yeah, but Cedric leaves us pretty much on 11. He's winning, then Say and Camilla on 9 and Carl on 8. So that's kind of like the top of the Jivvy charts there. Eva's now gone up to 3, Star went up to 4. So that's kind of where we're at with it.
In fact, I totally agree with Cedric leaving the pre-merge with the most points. 100% actually. Whatever anyone says, he's been to Tribal Council 4 times. It's been tough. It's been complex, and he's come out of it with. He's still got to say, Mary's in the game. Like, we'll see what happens. I don't think it will be that bad for him going forward, especially if there's going to be a Murgatory coming up.
Murgatory, yeah. He's controlled the votes, and the Chizzy.
Yeah, he's been brilliant.
Yeah, the Chizzy. Like, I didn't give him any points when Justin went. I didn't like that, but like. Yeah, the Chizzy will reward people when they control the votes. And he did. If I don't think it's disastrous. And I don't. So he got 5 points this episode and he's leading the Chizzy chart. People might have the issue with it. It's the kind of thing where if I post it on Twitter, people will be like, why did that happen? I'll be like, listen to the podcast. Okay, that's the conclusions we came to. So anyway, yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on the season, Matt, in your many notes? Do you have anything else you wanted to say?
Well, I'll just go through my notes and decide on some final points. No, honestly, I think it's been really good, really fast-paced, really exciting. Really looking forward to it. I feel like with these seasons of US Survivor, when like on the last one when you said about coming on the podcast, like now I'm just going to be addicted to like I can't lie, I was really obsessed with this season of Australian Survivor. And I started watching this, and I do think when you watch, I prefer Australian Survivor. So when I was watching this US Survivor, I was like, oh, it's a bit. But then now I'm just going to be obsessed. Like I'll be waiting until next week now because we're talking like now. I think the start of the podcast maybe a bit slow to get into it, but now I could just talk all day. I'm loving it. You know what I mean? I'm ready to go.
No, it wasn't slow to start. It was great. It was like this season. It was fast to start.
It was fast to start. I just think I was just taking it all in at the start, listening. But then I think you need to be a good listener. I was listening to your points, and I've learned a lot again. I feel like I feel good. It's a good start to my day. Good end to your day.
Yes, good end to my 4 podcast day. It really was. We have our plan where you won't have to travel 10 hours to meet me for dinner. Not a coffee, but for dinner. That was great too. We worked through the prisoner's dilemma, which I think I always find really fun. I think the Chizzy feels good too. I think we really sorted some stuff out today.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Really good to chat about a crazy season of US Survivor. They come thick and fast. I seen on Instagram they're casting for 51 and 52 now as well.
Oh my gosh.
Like I seen some like casting, some casting producer. It's open for 51. Like it's mad. They come around so fast. I feel like it was literally 2 minutes ago we were watching 47. Well,
yeah, they do. To be honest. They pop them out. It's true. Where can people find you? Tell the people.
Yeah, so Matthew Haywood X on all social channels. I'm probably the most active on TikTok at the minute. I do a lot of stuff on there, lots of adventures, kind of crazy things, and just living as somebody in the 20s. Yeah, and just kind of navigating life on there. Instagram, Matthew Haywood X as well. So yeah, I love chatting, and I love it when people from like the podcast. Last time I got such a lot of nice messages from people who've watched the podcast and maybe hadn't seen the season. So yeah, it opens you up to a lot of people, which is nice.
Yeah, people were excited to have you back. So this was so much fun. I'm so glad we got to chat. Everyone can follow me at Shannon Gates. In a few weeks from now, you'll see a selfie of us in Edinburgh.
We'll be together. Perfect. This is good. From other sides of the world. It's mad.
Love it. Yeah, WeKnowGlobalSurvivor.com for all of the content. As I said, many podcasts happening now. I covered the end of Deal or No Deal Island. We talked about that because David Jennett from Australian Survivor was on that. No spoilers, but we were talking about his journey with Jenny and Chappelle. Exit interviews came out for week 6 today. The recaps will come out next week, going through to week 7. This week for week 6, my guest was Caroline. Next week, my guest is Andy from Survivor 47 on the feedback show for Australian Survivor. On US Survivor, next week I have Harry Hills. What else? Exits, recaps, feedback show, US Survivor. I think that's it. It was a long day. It was a
long day.
Yeah, it was fun though. It was a fun podcasting day. But thank you so much for this, Matthew. This was great. I can't wait till we get to hang out.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. I can't wait. And we can chat Survivor. I'm excited, and there'll be a lot more episodes out by then as well. So we'll be able to really get into it and see if our predictions are right. I think we've had some hot takes and we've made some good points. So we'll see if we're right when we can catch up.
The big hot take podcast. I think definitely going against the grain, but that's always fun. And math supports things that we've said. So that's what's important. Well, not really. Actually, the math said to betray, and Cedric didn't do that. But still, we also reasoned it out. It made sense. Anyway, thank you so much. Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, always. Thank you to our team behind the scenes. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.